Continue.
Got it. Okay. Now I am going to turn this around so that they can see the meeting in the corner here. And that's the best we can do with the technology we have. And so I therefore, let me just get my thing. I'd like to call the meeting to order at, well, I won't call the meeting to order because it's
You got
not
a minute
6:30
now.
yet. I got a minute left. And let me just put my. Okay. All right, I think we have everyone here. We just need to call them, let's see. 1, 2, 3. So we're missing Steve
Yeah,
Coswell.
Steve's the only one missing.
Let me just double check real quick.
Is he on? Is he on the?
Nope, he's not on that. I just need to.
Saw him the other day, and it's on Sunday, and he said he missed the last week and he had to work until that night.
All right, well, I'm just texting him for now. Okay, so therefore we have a quorum, so I want to call the meeting to order at 6:31, please. And we'll have it, because this is a hybrid meeting, I'll do the attendance roll call vote. Larry Boudreau,
Here.
Lindsay Butler,
Here.
Stephen Coswell is absent, Walt Meisner here, and Richard Wright.
Here.
And Associate Member Roger Hoyt.
Here.
Okay, notifications, agenda is as posted on the town website and includes items reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours prior to the meeting. Votes may be taken. Order and exact times of the agenda items may vary at the board's discretion, except for public hearings, which cannot start prior to the scheduled time. Documents submitted for review can be found under the Planning Board tab on the town website. The meeting is being recorded. The recorded minutes will be the official record, but written minutes will be prepared for easier reference to the topics covered and actions taken. If you are joining the meeting remotely, please keep your microphone on mute unless you have been invited by the chairman to speak when the floor is open for public comment. Please raise your hand using the feature provided in Zoom and wait until you are recognized by the chairman to speak. Those presenting to the board must have at least one representative present at the meeting, not remote, with hard copies of the application and plans for the board to consider. If I can ask anybody who happens to notice on the computer screen that somebody is trying to get in, would you please call it to my attention, because I'm not looking at the computer screen. So if it pops up there, be helpful if you do that. Chair and vice chairman comments. We still are under the state of emergency, COVID-19 legislation amended by chapter 201, November 10th, 2020. I did want to sort of let the board know that I was at the select board meeting the other night, as I was the previous select board meeting. The TA and the select board are trying to move away from doing Zoom meetings. I reminded them that the planning board is an independent board, does not report to the select board and does not report to the TA. And we had wanted to continue to try a hybrid approach for this summer. The governor has actually extended his temporary suspension of the open meeting laws, which allows us to do Zoom meetings until April 1st, 2020. I told the select board we were only trying it for the summer and that we would decide later in the summer whether we wanted to continue Zoom meetings throughout the year. My position is that Zoom is here to stay in one form or another, and that it provides an easier access for the public to see what we're doing and to ask us questions, particularly when there are issues that when they're just asking us about process and not actually presenting a plan. I still maintain that we want to try to meet in person whenever possible. It does help us too as board members with summer vacations and being out of town or having situations where we can't make the meeting because of some other issue. And so I still maintain that trying to work our way through the next few months and figure out how a hybrid approach can work is the better way to go. I would say that this, obviously, if we continue on, we're going to have a technology issue because I can't be bringing my laptop and doing the video on laptop, going forward. But this is just a trial, and that's why we're continuing to do that. So that's where we are there. You may have seen that I sent an email this afternoon to the select board because I wanted to be reminded as to who the select board liaison is to the planning board. And the select board liaison is Leo Jansen. And Leo replied and let me know that he is the select board liaison, but he was unable to attend tonight. So those are all of the comments I had. Does the vice chair have any comments?
I have none, no.
No comments from the vice chair right now. So we have two issues under item number 2 on our agenda, hearings/applications. And the first one, the item that is, well, we have one item, excuse me, it was Bray Ave. And Ed McSweeney had sent and needs a partial release of the Form K lots 8 and 9. Ed, do you want to sort of make the a request and explain it to us? Why don't you go over there so you can be seen? That'd be great. Yes, there you go. You can be seen by our observers who are keeping us honest. Clarence and
I'm not
C.
sure if I got enough copies, but in essence, what it is. So the agreement we have, planning board, but also with the town attorney, Deb Phillips. Every time we sell a house, we're agreed to put in escrow in the account that was set up by attorney Deb Phillips, and it was set up during COVID, and I don't think it ever actually made it over to the treasurer, and we just have kept it there in her escrow account that's designated. So Gray Ave is a subdivision of 9 houses. We're completing the last 2 houses, and in a couple of weeks, we will have both of them sold. So the purpose of this release is we're asking if the chairperson will sign off on the release, and what that means, when the first of either 8 or 9 is sold, the house, $16,000 of the proceeds will be then put into the account. That money is tagged to take care of the paving on Bray Ave when we've completed the project. All the other issues like a recharge area for the wetlands and so forth, we're doing that. So the $64,000 will be shortly in the fund, will be targeted when we basically have either Keating's or PJ Albert come back in and do the final top. And we'll have everything completed. There will be a statement from the third-party engineer saying that we've completed along with Chris Mossman. And he has a plan that will show more or less for the DPW as well as for the light company where all the lines are and things like that. And at that point, once we have completion, the road is all paved and so forth, we'll start the petition process to go to the select people to see when it's appropriate to turn the street over to the town.
Mhm. Do you have any comments, Roger, about past procedures for this, or is this a new thing?
No, we did it not a couple
We're
of years
done-
ago
we're done
for
now.
Hemlock.
Mhm.
Just make sure you just get stuff in and
So the passport
orderly
account
time so we
is
can be
set
on
up.
the warrant for town meeting.
Right, and there is, right now, there's whatever 7 times 8 is in the fund now, and then we'll be putting another 16,000 into it.
Mhm.
So it's 8,000 per home.
8,000 per home.
8,000 per home. It has the chairman here, but it has enough lines for all of us to sign. Is there an expectation that all of us sign?
Sometimes just the chairperson is signed, other times it's everybody.
Okay,
All we need the chairperson.
Yeah, yeah.
And so between Deb and Deb Phillips is aware of it.
and it's
our
obviously, I
attorney-
need a notary
Right.
so I would need to do this in the office.
Yeah.
I need to come down to town hall
Heather
to do this.
usually coordinates it
Okay,
and does it for
Okay.
us.
so this is just copies for our reference here. Okay. So, is everyone comfortable with this? Everybody have any questions about it?
Nope.
You comfortable with it, Roger? I trust your past judgment or experience on this?
As long as it's okay with town council, it's continuing what we've done on the others.
Yep.
So,
Like I said, when we started, just as COVID was coming with some of the
Yeah.
houses, the passbook was all set up, but it never made the transition to the assessor's office. And at one point, I think it was about 3 houses ago, Deb Phillips just said, I'm just gonna hold it in this escrow account. And
okay.
our attorney, Tom Gustafson, has no problem. with
Okay.
that.
Well, so I would entertain a motion that contingent upon town council's verification of everything that is on this thing here, because I haven't spoken with Deb. I will sign it. I don't think it is a good use of everyone's time for everybody to sign this, given that it requires a notary, a notary to do that. So I will sign that. So if I can have a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion in a second. Any more discussion? We don't need, Steve Coswell is here, so we don't need a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no objections, vote is unanimous, and I'll sign and take care of this. Now, I have to tell you, I'm in Boston tomorrow, Ed, and it's closed on Friday. Are
I
you
get
okay
2
to do
weeks.
this Monday? Oh, yeah, you're okay? I just want to make sure there's no time constraints.
Heather understands the routine. So we're probably around 2.5 weeks away from closing.
So if
as long
I-
as it gets done before the closing.
I promise we'll take care of this next week.
All right,
Okay,
that's
we'll
fine.
get that done, and then
Yeah.
you can, Thursday at the latest, you'll be able to pick it up from Heather.
Well, unfortunately for Heather, she sees me all the time. That's not an issue.
Thank you very much,
That's
Ed.
why she don't answer her phone. all the
Yeah.
time.
I do have an unscheduled, and I'll be happy to wait my turn.
I'll tell you what, we have no other request or hearing, so let's move on to a public comment, which is the next thing, and you want to, in public comment, bring it up.
Okay,
Do you mind if he goes ahead,
no, I can wait. Go
No,
ahead.
no,
You sure?
no, go for it.
Then I'll go for it. Okay, what I have in my hands is, and I do have copies, but this is the original. And this I can leave with you and you can give to Heather too, when you have signed. Is, let me just pass these out so you have a abbreviated version. Oops. So that's the abbreviated version. What this is, and it's really for what I'm trying to talk to, it's an easement. So the current easement, if you go to the 2 pictures in the back, this current easement basically is how Gray Ave was set up. And it's set up for lots 16 and 18 or 8 and 9. Tom Gustafson wanted to make it clear to everyone. On an easement, the bylaw calls for within the charter of the Gray Ave documents, only the owners of the 2 properties, which we still are, Gray Ave 9 LLC, 8 and 9 at this point in time, and the chairperson is required. So it's not like a special permit or anything. We don't have to notify the other homeowners in the association. What we've done is, and what we're asking is if you look at the current one, you can see the dotted lines. That's the shared driveway. This was a shared driveway, common driveway that was approved and filed with the plan several years ago.
For a shared driveway for the final two houses?
For the final two. And
Okay.
it's the only common driveway in the
Mhm.
complex. There were other ones, but
Okay.
we basically undid them and made them single, but
Mhm.
this one is a common driveway. So as you can see the drive and where it came up, what we've done is on the new one at the top, well, up here where the property line is here, we're coming straight across. So we're omitting this much of what was the easement. We're coming across, but the light company specifically wants Ashburnham Municipal Light Company. So that's another reason why we're doing it. They want their name. And if you have time, you'll see it's in the verbiage. They're called out.
Okay.
They want their name?
And
Why
I
do
don't-
they want their name?
That's what Kevin Sullivan now says. So you're gonna be seeing in about 2 weeks when we come for the common driveway and the project we're doing up on Wichita Road.
Mhm.
Ashburnham Light Company, they specifically said it, so we're putting it in there, that they wanted it both in the written form as well as on the plan before they allow wires to be put in the ground. And since we had to make the change, we have no problem doing it. So that's the request of this easement, is that we rescind the existing one and have this one now as the new easement. And the major change is that would, instead of coming off here like it showed on the existing one, we just coming straight across here.
Okay. In terms of how you oriented it, I would have no objection to it. First sort of easement issue we've had
Mhm.
since I've been on the board.
Um,
What would you say?
I
Roger?
don't think we've had Ashburnham Light involved in any of the other common driveways because it's usually been overhead or
Start seeing
anything.
it now, they made a big.
Well,
point
because you're
of this.
underground.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, they want to make sure
We
it's
have to
on
have-
the document, their name, so they specifically had to write
yeah,
that the
yeah,
wires go in there.
yeah.
So
And
the,
since we had to
so
make the
the,
change, we had no problem doing it.
so this is a common driveway and an easement for Ashburnham Power Municipal.
Well, they are, but we're doing it also just to reflect the change that we have the driveway coming into the existing house now that we've built it. The existing easement was here. We're doing away with this section and just moving it to this section.
Okay.
See how we moved,
Yep.
taking that to this?
Get rid of this. and move
Yep,
on,
I know.
right?
Yep. Oh, well, that's good. That's fine. I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with that.
That we needed for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then talking to Kevin Sullivan, we said, don't, he said, can you add our name? I said, that's not a problem. We'll add
Yeah,
our name.
'cause
Not a
they've
problem.
got. they've
So
got
we're just
power
adding
around
their,
there.
we're just adding their name to the
Yeah,
easement so that
correct,
people
yes.
know that they have the right to
Correct.
go in there and
Mhm.
deal with that power. All right.
Correct.
I don't have an issue with that
Yeah.
personally. Does anybody else have any
I have
thoughts,
none.
comments? So we're gonna see this win?
Right now, here, I'll give you, this is the formal one. This, we've signed it. Again, Heather will, it's got to be notarized. And the chairperson has to sign this here. Well, this one actually calls the planning board, so I'm not sure if you all have to sign it.
Probably means we all have to
I
sign
didn't
it.
ask Tom that. I know on that one you don't, but and these are the originals with it, the exhibit A and
Okay.
B.
What I will
So I'll
do,
just leave that with you.
okay, well, what I will do is, as this is, I'm new to this, particularly this sort of thing, I will, again, similar to the last one, confer with council, make sure, everything's there, and then I'll I'll send a note out to the board and you can arrange to come in and sign this.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. So, because it does look like from the way it was set up that all the members of the board are, at least are part of the meeting should sign it. So I'll let everyone know. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You have to forgive me. I don't remember your name.
Chris.
It's Chris. Yeah, okay. Chris, I happened to run into at the, he was actually on the agenda of the select board meeting. And there have been some issues with him trying to get his site review for the Green Ventures property. Would you like to explain the issue?
Yeah,
Chris.
we were approved.
I think Lindsay may need your last name too.
Oh, it's Frost.
Chris
From Green
Frost.
Ventures,
You know, Walt, I don't want to
Wait,
interrupt
what's
here.
the property for
Yep.
this? Is this off?
Young Road, 3 Young Road.
Roger, like to interrupt?
I think I have a solution to all of this. It'd be
To
rather
this?
Quick.
Do we
Yes.
want to lay out the issue?
No.
First, why? Okay, why? Okay,
I think the solution takes care of it, and we just save time.
okay, go.
Under the LID regulations,
Okay.
under 6.8.
You realize that nobody else knows what we're
I
talking
know,
about here.
and I
okay?
didn't read this until I sat down here
They,
tonight.
they don't
so-
know what even Chris wants to see, which is why I thought we need.
okay,
The other board members need to know what this
Okay.
is about.
Go ahead.
Okay. You'll remember Chris was before us when Green Ventures came to us with regards to the property that it's under the marijuana review committee and the property that he has a growing facility that he's proposed to put there. And he came before and he was on our agenda in the past. With that as an introduction, Chris, tell us what's happened since the last time you were with us.
Okay, at the last meeting, there was a motion to approve pending an LID review. This was, I want to say back in January, late December, early January. Roger had sent us did you send the proposals to the 3 firms?
We sent them out for the town area consulting firms for.
Okay, there were 3 firms that were contacted, 2 never responded. Tiki and Bond responded with a proposal, which was actually very reasonable. It was right around $2,000. But from that point on, myself, the architect, the engineer that has worked on the project, nobody has been able to contact them and, get that review done. And now we're 6 months from the time the proposal is done, and we're actually ready to file the application now, and this has not been done yet.
And when he was having he got approval for a special permit from the Board of Selectmen on Monday night for, can't remember the purposes and the terms of the special permit, but it was approved by the select board. And in that meeting, he expressed his frustration about they're kind of hung up on this because they haven't gotten the review. Now, Roger has done some research and Roger can tell us what the solution will likely
Just
be.
as authorized by the chair, I sent another email out to Ty and Bond today and a voice message and such, and either if they don't log into the meeting or whatever, but in reading our bylaw,
Mhm.
under this section here of a little odd way to do this, but I'll read it. Failure of the LID authority, which is us, to take final action upon a completed application within 45 days of receipt of a complete application shall be deemed to be approval of that application unless an extension of time frame is granted by the applicant. It's
Okay.
been more than 45 days.
So Chris, you're home free if by the bylaw. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts on that?
If he does not grant us an extension.
Well, do we want to even ask for an extension? I personally don't want to ask for an extension. I remember your plan pretty clearly. It's very low impact. There were no issues that we had with it. It's probably less impactful than a home. So in my personal opinion is that the fact that 45 days have gone by and there's been no action taken there. Now, have you paid Ty and Bond?
I have not.
Well, that is good news.
I have the check written. I do not have it dated.
Well, we just saved you
What?
$2,000. So I don't know if there's a motion to be had. I don't
I
believe
don't-
so. I think it is
Other
just a
than-
matter of the fact that
Just a lapse.
per the bylaws, it has elapsed. And by the way, we should remember this for the future. Because when he came in and we had to do this low impact review, we all said, why are we doing this for this property?
Mhm.
It seems to be rather bureaucratic, but we were following
Mhm.
the bylaws. We probably could have advised, if we sit on this for 45 days, it's approved. So,
And we also, as far as I know, received no response or comments from any other town boards.
right? Nope, we have not. I haven't seen any and you haven't seen any, so we haven't received any response. So I don't think you could have had a better outcome, so I think.
We still have to document, if we haven't already in the minutes,
Yep.
the
We-
scenic road application that we felt did not.
Yes,
was
now
not
you had a
relevant.
scenic road application,
Correct.
yes. And you are not cutting down any trees?
Other than what had already been clear cut, no.
No trees on the road frontage?
On the road frontage, no.
And you have not disturbed any of the stone walls?
I was unaware there were any stone walls. I haven't
Okay.
seen anything on
There
the, I don't believe there are any on the plan.
So what we will do, and for the minutes, is I will have craft with Heather a letter that says, provided there is no cutting of the trees, in other words, to document this, provided that there is no cutting of the trees along the road edge or a disturbance of any stone walls that may or may not exist on that road, you are not required it's the planning board's view that you are not required to submit for a scenic road. You do not have to go through the scenic road application. That purpose of that letter is simply to document it so that if you do cut down a tree without coming back to us for a scenic road permit along the road, you would be in trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah. But as long as you're not going to cut down a tree along the scenic road and you're not going to disturb any, stone walls, if one existed, then you are not required to go forward with the scenic road application. Do I have agreement from the board?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you get 2 wins tonight.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So that one, though, is I do need to craft a letter so that we have it documented that we gave you permission not to apply for a scenic road permit.
If I just, I think you initially did that application.
We did submit
So
a scenic road application.
I just would say if we haven't cashed the check, we return the check.
Yep.
If we have, then potentially we could
We'll
just
refund your money.
refund it,
Yeah.
or if you have other fees, permit fees or something, if it's.
I'm sure there are going to be
But
fees coming up.
probably easier and cut and dry. Well, not
Okay.
easier, but probably more cut and dry just to refund the money.
Okay. Yep, we'll take care of that. Okay,
Sounds good.
all right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Anything else here? No, any public comment from Chris or Cease? Nope, they shake their heads no. No one else is here, so we can move on to administrative matters. You can hang around, Chris, if you want, or you can leave.
Actually, my wife has dinner waiting for me. so,
Okay,
You go.
I'm gonna scoot home. and go
good,
have some dinner.
good for you.
You can celebrate.
Thank you.
Yes.
Enjoy. Go celebrate.
A windfall.
All right,
Going
thank you all.
forward.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, would you two help me out and move to that side of the table so that we can prove to everybody that our committee is actually meeting over here? Okay, going on to administrative matters. Item number A is the MRPC Planning Assistance Grant Update. Roger did speak with the MRPC Executive Director yesterday, who expressed that the housing production plan and the housing chapter will continue on on July 1st, with the expectation it will be completed by Thanksgiving. Have I said that correctly,
That's
Roger?
correct.
And-
Those two original ones from last year.
Do
The
you have,
housing chapter, and sorry, what was the other one?
it was the production plan
Housing
and
production
housing
plan.
chapter.
Yeah.
And it's a continuation from last year, and it will, they'll be back on it on July 1. And the expectation is that they will have completed it by Thanksgiving. There were some additional comments you had in your email. Do you want to
Yeah.
add that? Go for it.
I can remember, let's see. We had 3 grants for this year. The updating the zoning map. And I explained to Glenn what really we thought was involved. It was fairly simple and straightforward, and he understood and agreed with that. So that one should progress very quickly once they get onto it. Again, that'll begin July 1st. What I asked them to do was give us an update for our July 14th meeting. So after the holiday, they'll convene and give us a tentative schedule and such, so that this board knows time frame, what needs to be done when, and we can keep an eye on them too.
Mhm.
And the other one, the mapping of the water and sewer systems. I think the information the town has on hand, which is paper maps of everything and digital CAD of the water line replacement on South Main. That's probably all we're gonna have to give to them, so that's what they'll have to work from. And the other one is the land use chapter, the master plan. Again, that'll be part of what they prepare for us schedule wise for July.
Mhm. Great. Any questions, anyone? Good. We can move on to the item B, was just the wetlands bylaw amendment follow-up. I do not know what the status is of, my question to you, Roger, was did the the last version of the bylaw go to town council yet?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So we had one paragraph that we got some more revised language on that
Okay.
Marshall had commented on. We don't hear from him, just send it to Debbie and get that going.
Mhm.
And
Well, I can send it to him. I can send it to Debbie with a copy to Marshall and say, Marshall, please confirm with Debbie that all of your edifications have been added to that. So I will do that.
And if this board is agreement on the way the map is in the latest version we had, then we're done.
Okay, I'm just making a note to myself to send version to Deb. Are you looking for ZBA?
No, it's not, planning board.
Oh, planning board. Yes, this is planning board.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, you can come on in and sit
No.
down. I mean,
Okay.
we're at another part of the agenda.
Okay, thanks.
We passed our public comment period. Thanks.
The yellow ones.
No.
With copy to Marshall. Okay, and the status of the map, you talked about above. Okay. Member reports of other boards and committees, anything from economic development?
No, I wasn't able to make the last
You
meeting.
didn't make
The
the
work.
last meeting. I can tell you that there's been no update to the MRT committee. The bylaw review committee has been suspended for this summer because of, summer schedules and that. We only had a couple of meetings scheduled this summer, and we're still waiting for the general code contract to be signed by the town so that general code can reorganize our bylaws for us. I do want to put it out there that I'm liaison to those two committees, but I don't need to be. We could, and now that Steve's on, and I don't know if Lindsay would want to, but the MRT, which is the Marijuana Review Team Committee, that's open for a representative. I'm the current representative. Can I twist your arms to consider that? And you don't have to answer now. I don't believe in putting people on a spot.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I will ask you at the next meeting if you'll give consideration to this, either one of those two.
Does it have
And
to be a member of the planning board, or can we
It
recommend
can be
someone?
anybody, right?
well, anybody that the planning board puts forth,
Mhm.
yeah. So it could be a planning board member, or it could be someone else.
Sure.
Yeah, and if there's someone else that we think would, that we know that we think would represent us well, I have no issue with that. I'm kind of wanting to stay on the bylaw review committee until, because I'm kind of using it to educate myself about the bylaws. And that's probably the one thing, but the bylaw review committee will eventually end all the bylaws. When we get into the changing part of the bylaws, we're all going to be involved in it. You know, there's right now, we're just reorganizing so that, and trying to get it into on the you know, on the website so that we can look up things easier and quicker. And we know that the most up-to-date versions are on the website and all of that. That's what they're trying to do now. It's after they do that, then they'll do a legal review of all the bylaws, see where the conflicts are, and try to work out and figure out how to deal with the conflicts. And then the third step will be, okay, how can we strategically change these bylaws to make them serve the town better, you know? And so we're probably a year away from the most important part of the process. This coming year is more, you know, cleanup and make it happen.
So in the fall, excuse me, in the fall, this bylaw review committee will get more active, right? now it's just-
Yeah, we'll go back in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's a company, what's it called? The
It's called general code.
general code.
Yep.
And they'll take a look at all the bylaws, reorganize them into a more cohesive
Yep.
groupings. And then that's when we'll jump on in a more,
Yeah, I
Major
mean, it's probably the latter before the former, the meaning general code.
they'll reorganize.
They're reorganizing and putting it online in an online system that they have developed for other towns.
And
so that you can,
we'll
like-
see, and that'll happen this fall.
So you can search on a topic and it will pull up all the bylaws relative to that topic. And so it's easier for us to say, because part of our problem is we have a bylaw in, you know, on
Mhm.
page 20 that relates to a bylaw on page 150. And unless you have
You've
memorized
got to
the
go
bylaws,
through every chapter of every section.
you
to-
can't
to
possibly
review it, to
connect them.
review your
And there's been updates to that bylaw that have not been made,
input.
have not been put on the
Yeah.
website, or people don't know about.
I'm finding that out with things that I'm trying to get myself assimilated here. And I'm, oh,
Up to speed.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh,
yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, the organization of it
say no
is
more.
is very bad. And so we need to improve that, but they'll organize it.
Yeah.
Then they'll do
Great.
a legal review and they'll tell us, these are the places where you conflict with Massachusetts law. And so those definitely would be addressed first.
Mhm.
And then we'll go through and we'll say, one of the things we're doing on the bylaw review committee is going through it section by section, taking like, 5, sections at a time, or 2 or 3 sections at a time, and reading them and then having a conversation about what are the things that, what are the things have we noticed that need to be looked into? It's not necessarily to say what needs to be changed, but where we think there might be a problem or where there's confusion or where we don't, what we don't even understand why it exists, any of that. So we're just sort of making those notes to give to general code so that when they go through and do their legal review, they'll say, well, this town does it this way and that town does it this way, and gives us something to learn. That's when you guys will start to get involved, because that's when they'll come and we'll have a conversation about various different bylaws in order to, to do that. So that's what the bylaw review committee is. Complete streets? Nothing?
Nothing.
Do you like the work they're doing up
Yeah,
there?
it's coming along.
It's coming along.
No input for me. so.
Nothing there. And we already did MJTC and
Just capital planning committee.
capital planning committee, and
There was a meeting last week to go over the warrant items for the town meeting. That was last night. Everything was approved within 11 minutes. There were warrants to remove some unused bonding from a couple of projects, designate $25,000 to use for matching grants so that we can apply, town can apply for things and know that we have the money if there's a matching grant required. And then there was one item to do a temporary repair at the DPW facility to make the building, to keep the building occupiable through the winter. And it was a budget item of $100,000 from free cash. In no specific amount, but that's will cover anything or study that may need to be done. It was kind of an open-ended because they really don't know what is involved. So, but that's to keep that building
but
usable.
but that got approved last night.
That was approved last night. So I don't believe we have any more meetings.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Now, our final items are to approve the minutes from the past, from the last two meetings. However, we had public comment earlier, so may I ask what your interest is, and we'll go back to public comment so that you can.
So did this start at 7 a.m., 7 p.m.?
No, this started at 6:30.
Yeah, we do apologize.
Sorry, I thought it was
7.
7.
Yeah,
So
7.
this is
I
just to change
see.
around.
This is for ZBA.
When I started hearing about minutes, I'm like, oh God, they're wrapping up. So,
No, I've been
So-
here, can I?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I've been here a couple times before in
Yeah,
the past
uh-huh.
about my bookstore cafe.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. I
On Main
remember.
Street.
It's great.
And I was very fortunate. I had an outdoor bookstore, book sale
Yeah.
last year, and Bryce and it was like, what?
yeah,
Yeah, and she was a book person, and Bryce and I were talking, and turned out he was an excavator.
Oh.
I said, no kidding, you
Okay.
want to take a look? And so he, so he scoped out my property, and I know you guys, when I've been up here twice, the primary concern was parking. So we've been discussing potential parking, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
brought some,
Mhm.
proposed plans. if
Okay.
they're interested.
Oh, so you're not presenting them for approval. You're just informing us of what they are,
So
or
I
you're
was
asking about process, or.
Kind of, maybe all of the above in that aspect. I had spoken with Gene and very nice fellow, and just we had been put him in touch with Sox Surveys out of Gardner
Mhm.
and to get preliminary stuff done. And you had mentioned something about shrinking down parking, so I felt that you guys got somewhere somehow.
Well,
But I didn't know if we were actually gonna be coming to the right meeting, so I
Well,
just
it's-
want to
it's
make sure that we're
discussion
on
with,
the right. path.
with Rosemary Meisner.
Yep.
At some of our outside
Mhm,
events,
mhm.
and we got friendly talking, and she was very empathetic about what I'm trying to do, and
Yeah.
she said, well, she told me in the long haul, they want to change that intersection down there, but that's, I know
That's a
gonna be-
long haul.
That's
thing,
gonna be a while.
Yeah.
So, she said that who, the select board or whoever, powers and be, were looking at maybe reducing the amount of parking for individual businesses per se.
Yeah, well,
So-
I mean, there's some things that we can't do quickly because they require a formal bylaw change to do it. You can always ask for a variance to the bylaws because of given conditions or making an argument. Am I saying that right, Roger? You can do that.
Mhm.
So you would first, I would imagine it would be important to the planning board for you to let us know what it is you're trying to do.
Mhm.
We and the building commissioner can talk to you about where there is conflict with the current bylaws.
Mhm.
If there's no conflict with the current bylaws, then there's nothing to prevent you from doing what you want to do as long as you get it approved by the building commissioner or whatever you're trying to enact. If there is a conflict with the bylaw, it would require you to put a proposal together, a request for a variance,
Mhm.
so that it can go before the ZBA zoning zoning board of appeals, and they can then look and they would ask us, the planning board, for our recommendation, our comments on it.
Mhm.
And we, of course, if we believed, we would let you know ahead of time whether we supported what you were trying to do or not. And then the ZBA could consider that and do it. That would be the process.
Okay.
But you're right, it starts with, and I know Rosemary has wanted, she has had heavy involvement, not only with the select board, which she's on right now, but she's heavy involvement with the economic development.
Mhm.
And there are a number of reports out there in other towns that that economic development has been stimulated and that parking restrictions are often an obstacle to economic development. And so she does have a very strong opinion,
Mhm.
whether her opinion will fly with the rest of it, because it has to go through channels, but
Right.
she has a strong opinion that modifying parking codes in the long run is something for what we were just talking about with Stephen about thinking about changes to our bylaws
Right.
that can have an
Mhm.
economic development.
Mhm.
But you're stuck because that's a
I know,
year
I
plus
know,
away.
I know.
All you can do is say, here's what we'd like to do.
Mhm.
Would the
Mhm.
town consider
Okay.
giving us a variance for what we want to do?
Okay.
Should we
Rich.
start out with that proposal here? Or would we want to follow a different channel with that and go through ZBA to talk with the building commissioner?
ZBA.
Well, I think that
You still gotta figure out
Would you guys
what
like
you're
to
gonna
see
have
the
in the
proposal?
building,
Well,
so that anyone can determine how much parking is.
Well, I have
needed.
that. I
Yeah,
have
we-
that.
That,
I
that
have
would go
I have
at
a-
least first with the building commissioner to get her
I have a
opinion on
floor
it.
plan and the
Yeah.
plans for the whole.
And-
Lindsay, you were gonna say something?
I just don't think this time and place is appropriate for it right now. I think if you want like a more formal discussion, we should have it as an agenda item
Well, I
as
asked,
well.
I asked, what's your name?
Roger, yeah, you're at the town meeting
I
last
asked him
night.
last night if the
Oh,
agenda
yeah.
was open and he
Yeah.
said,
Yeah,
yes.
come in under
Well,
public
you
comment,
you can ask under
Public
public comment,
and then
but,
we'll,
but we can't take an action under public comment. That's where Lindsay's going with it. We can listen to you and understand what you're going through and talk about process, what we're doing right now.
Mhm.
But all you have to do is say, okay, if you need, we need you to articulate the action that you want us to take. And if the action is, would you, first off, does this plan, would be question number one, I think you would ask us. Does this plan conform to the planning the zoning bylaws.
Mhm.
Does it conform? And you can ask the building commissioner that question. You can ask us that question.
Okay, can I just say something?
Yep, yeah,
This is my third meeting here,
I know.
and both times your concern was parking. Now I have a plan for parking.
Okay.
But do you have a formal plan?
Yes.
You have a, where, well, there's like a process. Yeah, it needs to be submitted. It's, you know,
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I know. I mean, I'm happy to look at your plan. We just can't take action on your plan until it's a formal item. I have to have anything presented has to be presented. We have to put it on the agenda 48 hours ahead of time.
okay.
So that's the whole thing.
So,
So you found out last night from Roger.
right. and I
Roger
was-
suggested,
right.
hey, you can come to us tonight, and we
Right.
can talk about,
Right.
the process. But what you will do then is you'll have to put forth the formal plan
Okay.
as a process, and then we can endorse it
Mhm.
or not, but we can look at the plan, accept it, endorse it. And my suspicion is if you're going to try to change it, I mean, if you're going against something that is in opposition to our zoning bylaws, it will need to go to the ZBA for a variance,
Mhm.
because the bylaws aren't going to get changed for another year.
So where do I start? At your next meeting?
Start with the building
No,
commissioner.
no.
Building
The building commissioner will determine if site plan review is required, depending on the scope of the work.
Mhm.
And then it would come to us if site plan review is required. So it first goes to the building commissioner who
Yeah.
makes that determination.
And you can talk to Sarah tomorrow. In fact,
Okay.
Sarah was here.
Mhm.
I don't know, and Sarah might still be here.
Mhm.
She was in her office just, less than an hour ago.
Okay.
She's right across the hall.
Mhm.
And Sarah saying, this is what we want to do. What, does it conform to the zoning bylaws? And if it does not, what's the process we go through for approval? Chances are she'll say immediately, go straight to asking for a variance with ZBA,
Mhm.
and ZBA will ask us for comments on it.
Okay.
And we'll give comments to it, and ZBA will approve it or not. Now, you may want to present it to us so that we'll endorse it for you,
Mhm.
but that's just all that has to be done is put on as an agenda item
Mhm.
for us.
Okay.
So that would be waiting another month for you folks unless he left you a copy of the plan.
But first off, you can give your plan tomorrow
Mhm.
to Heather,
To Heather.
and she'll put it in a
Okay.
PDF and she'll send it to all of us.
Okay.
And if it's appropriate for it to go on our next agenda, we meet in 2 weeks.
Oh, good.
So we can put it as a formal agenda item and look at it ahead of time.
That'd be good.
However, I think Roger's advice is the smart one. Start with Sarah,
Okay.
because Sarah can cut through the red tape
Mhm.
faster than us.
Mhm.
As you can see, we have our rigid procedures and we have to, it's like, I can't consider in good faith
Mhm.
an agenda item
That's.
that I haven't put on the
Okay,
agenda
gotcha.
ahead of
Okay,
time
yeah,
for
sorry, I didn't
people
get
like,
that.
no, that's okay,
Yeah.
that's okay.
That's what I was asking. If it was-
No,
it was open.
I know your plan a little bit,
Mhm.
and I'm in full support of it. I
Mhm,
mean,
thank
I really would love to see that place turned into a bookstore
Thank
in there. And I think you'll find most people at this,
Mhm.
on this table, we don't want to keep giving you the runaround.
Mhm.
And that's why we're trying to be kind of explicitly clear,
Mhm.
simplify the process for you.
Yeah, it was a little tough with COVID,
Yeah.
trying to get
Yeah.
things moving. So this is really my first move since then.
Since you came back with COVID.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, so.
I am kind of curious to see your plan, but I don't want to take up
Well,
everybody's
this-
time here.
This
too.
was presented by Alex Locke's father, and I just had this blown up at.
But have you got a
Hmm?
floor plan of the building as?
I do.
Yeah, that Sarah will need to see that.
Let me
Determine
just
where to go.
propose something. Since this is so informal,
Mm.
let us
We
just
can
complete our agenda.
Yeah.
let us complete our agenda. We'll close the meeting. And I would be curious to see your plan and what you're gonna show to Sarah tomorrow.
Very good.
Sure.
And we'll do it more informally rather
People
than
can
sort
take
of.
off if they want.
Like-
Take a- stick around.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we
if you
just
can
keep the
take off
meeting-
or, yeah,
keep the meeting open.
well, we can keep the meeting open.
Keep the meeting open if there's gonna be more than two of us discussing
Oh, yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Um,
But, you know,
or you.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's another way to do it. But so let's just real quickly get our minutes approved on the May 26th. I sent them out. Did everybody have a chance to see them? Are they comfortable with them? I particularly looked to Lindsay because I edited them.
Yeah.
And so do I have a motion to approve the minutes of May
Motion.
26th?
Motion to
Steve
approve.
has made a motion
I'll
to.
second that.
Lindsay has seconded it. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. The minutes of the 26th are approved and I can send them to Heather to post tomorrow. Have you all read the minutes of June 9th, 2021 that I had in that same email?
Yes.
Everybody comfortable with them?
Yes, but I wasn't here, so I'm.
Oh, you
just
weren't
gonna
there, so,
abstain. I
yeah.
don't, were
No, I
you weren't there
wasn't, yeah.
either.
So you
I
two
saw
weren't,
that.
so it's just us three.
That's why they're comfortable with.
Yeah, that's why they're comfortable
That's why I
with it.
stood there like.
So I only need a vote from us three. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Richard has
I'll
moved it
second it.
and Larry has seconded it. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the abstentions are obviously Stephen and Lindsay because they weren't here at that meeting. And our next meeting is Wednesday, July 14th will be the next meeting. And so you'll therefore want to, yes, that will be a 6:30 meeting. And if you put that on the agenda, you know, we'll deal with it.
Great.
We'll formally deal with it and come out of it. But what I want to make sure is that on that meeting, you work through Sarah and you present the issue to us that we can take a firm action on. So if we just sort of, so that we can say, yes, we endorse that, or here would be our, the proposed changes that we would suggest, or whatever it is, we can take a clear action on it. So that if it's supposed to go to the zoning board, then you can go and ask for a clear variance on it. And the zoning board, they will ask us our opinion on a variance, and they will ask the select board, which includes Rosemary, their opinions on it too. So with those endorsements and rationale as to why we should make an exception, they can consider it.
So do you want to pass that around? We can go through the spiel real quick.
Yeah, if it's okay. Just
Yep,
right now.
sure.
So this is somewhat of a floor plan for the downstairs. And this is a few copies of the this lot marking proposal. They've not, they haven't done a formal survey as of yet. He just did this from my drawing. It's kind of an idea. He has a potential, I had his own word, potential 17 spaces possibly, but in order to do this, I'm talking to Bryce, I had no clue what the kind of work and the cost would be involved. And he's talking big time because I have to have like a retaining wall built and yeah,
I
like this.
feel that would be the case. This is something that I drew up just for Gene, but just to save you folks on time, I feel like I can walk you guys through it.
Okay.
Do you think, or
Go
do you
for
want me to redraw it?
No.
Okay,
go ahead.
so if we look at this
Yep.
drawing here, right?
Yep,
So this is the main house
Yep.
and this is Main Street, correct?
yep, gotcha.
Okay. So we've got the main house here, we've got the proposed parking in the back, and we've got the proposed parking on the side, correct? And then we've got either coming in, the idea originally was driving in this way and coming out this way, but we do have that sign down below.
That's the slope over here to the left.
We haven't even gotten into that yet.
Okay,
So the proposed would be on the property line doing an 18-inch to 2-foot retaining wall with a fence mounted on top. You know, that would be a reinforced concrete, you know, double mat retaining wall that would hold back compactable material in order for him to maintain those parking spaces. Now we're going into this,
Mhm.
for him to maintain those parking spaces and then taper down to, you know, the current, to meet up with the current grades of the road and whatnot, and to make these parking spaces more, you know, acceptable by your, you know, 3% grade or what have you,
Mhm.
or whatever the max grade would be, we could work with that as well.
In the watershed and all that parking and whatnot.
I believe that there's a culvert right there.
The only other issue that, you know, Steve just alluded to, I think,
But we could address the more drainage if that is the case.
That
I
would
know
be
I
us.
had,
You
that
have
wouldn't be
to,
us.
when you submit
Ab-
plans for this,
absolutely.
you're gonna have to.
I know I had to in
Yeah.
Fitchburg without a doubt, and that's a big thing right now. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
definitely. Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
I
You're
mean,
above and you're gonna be draining
Yeah,
down. onto
without a
lot of the
doubt.
Properties.
yeah, totally, yeah.
I mean,
I
have
agree.
you
Maybe a
done,
cul-de system or something like that.
has your architect and have your consultants told you for the business you're putting in there, this is a bookstore and a coffee shop type of thing.
Right.
I find it hard to believe that you need 17
I do
parking
too.
Is
spaces.
is that what it was for the code?
No,
Well, that's, I'll be honest, I remember you came before the board
Mhm.
before, and I feel like we had this big conversation. It's like, you just need to follow the process.
Right.
Mm,
As far as go to the building department, ask them,
right.
you know, and they're gonna tell you, you need to have plans, you need to get your
Right.
engineer,
Well,
you know.
yeah, I gotta tell you,
You
the
know-
former building inspector commissioner
Okay.
was less by multiple degrees helpful.
Okay, so but you started there?
Yes.
Okay, so but I'd
a year and a
also-
half ago.
You
Okay,
still have to stay with that.
yeah,
though.
so you also need to go have somebody draft up some
Mm-hmm.
legit plans and show what you want to do.
Mhm.
Because, you know, you can put 17 spaces on there, but do they
Right.
meet you need to make sure,
Right.
are they the width, the
Right,
depth,
I
are they
know, I
exact?
know, they just
So
drew
this
these in.
is, I
I
know, but
said
it's,
potential spaces.
I just don't, you don't want to waste, because the whole process is long. So it's like, do yourself a favor, just,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to get somebody to, you know, hire a firm to,
Firm.
or you're gonna have to hire
An
somebody or
engineer,
an
yeah.
engineer to come
You're-
up with these plans. And if you're,
You're in luck. Sarah's here.
Oh, good.
She's gonna come in a
Oh,
second.
wonderful, thank you.
She's your building commissioner, okay?
Great.
Awesome.
okay.
That's
That's
great.
And she's gonna tell you the same thing that
She's,
Lindsay
yes,
is.
Yeah,
and then
I
once
believe
you
that.
submit
Yeah,
that,
no,
you're gonna
you're making
submit it
total
to,
sense. I
and
thought
if-
that we were coming to a,
no.
when you had mentioned this to me,
Well,
I thought we
I
were
just-
actually, you were on
I
the
just-
agenda and this
I-
was the
No.
thing.
I heard
So-
you say open agenda, so I just
So
thought.
that's the
Open
only reason
discussion.
that I'm here,
Right,
folks.
you
gotta come in.
I'm respectful
we
to
have a-
the
we have a
board. I
engineer.
apologize.
No,
No,
don't
that's,
worry.
no,
Taking
don't.
up
I
your
mean, you know,
time.
I just wanna
Yeah.
save you the
That's
time,
good.
because you might not even have to
Sorry,
go.
Roger, I just, when I asked you if it was open, I
Sarah,
just thought.
There is open discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to introduce you to
Sarah.
Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah is the building commissioner.
My name's Gene Farrell, and I'm going to be opening, hope, at some point, a bookstore cafe over at 31 Main Street.
Okay.
And we were, this is Bryce Harrison.
Yeah.
We met at, he and his wife, at one of my outdoor book sales last year, and turned out he was an excavator. So we've been talking for a while, it was last year, about potential parking. And there's an issue because there's a drop off, you know, and what I want, it's too dangerous to back out, you know, of there. And it just is. So we want to go around like
So-
at the brick building.
To
next to
sort of help with the history here,
Mhm.
Gene came before the board a year ago or so, and he went to the previous building commissioner, and he's been trying to figure out how to make this work with his building, and honestly, he's gotten some conflicting advice at times. So he came here as part of a public comment period. We did not have him on the agenda, so we cannot take, and we're not going to take any action tonight. We couldn't do it.
Right.
But we were curious to see what it was that his problem is. We're advising him to come talk to you.
Okay.
Because the first question to answer is
What are
the
parking
business he
requirements?
needs and what are the parking requirements he'll need. Now, he has a plan here that's like 17 parking spaces, and I have a hard time believing that for a bookstore and a small coffee shop, 17 parking spots are going to be required. but that's not for me to determine. That will be in the plan. Sarah will give you the advice you need. You'll then need to put forth the appropriate plans.
Mhm.
And those plans and I would lean,
And if you can't meet the parking requirements, whatever's laid out in the zoning bylaw, which I don't have memorized, so I
Yeah.
can't quote it to you at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think the planning board does have the power to waive parking requirements, and for a downtown area where there's on-street parking, that makes sense to have a little bit of flexibility there. So if in a hypothetical, he needed 15, but only 13 really work, well, then that seems like an easy thing to deal with.
that's right. Yeah, and I think though, I guess I need your advice too on that part, whether it's us or is it asking for a variance? Can we waive the parking or does he have to ask zoning for a variance? That's what we
If you
didn't
give
know.
me just 1 minute, I'll go grab my book and I can answer your
Okay.
questions.
So,
Thank you.
so the bottom line is Sarah's your go-to person. She'll tell you what it is you have to at a minimum do. And like I said, I think I'm not quite sure for a bookstore and a coffee shop, you'll need more than 5 or 6, let alone 17.
Well, it
But
depends on the square footage in the
but-
seats.
Right.
That's the number
Square-
one thing.
square footage in the
Square
seats. will
footage is so
determine-
many per square foot
He is
for the
thinking
bookstore
of
and
using
so many seats
the
per parking
garage
spot.
for like an event possibly
And do all
at
that.
some point too. as
And
well.
that, if he does that, that would probably increase
Increase
parking.
the.
Okay.
But first thing is determine how
Where
many
we-
spaces
yeah,
do you
what can
actually
you do?
need,
Yeah, totally.
what you can fit in, and then what is the process for waiving or getting a variance, whatever it happens to
But
be.
yeah, you have to find out, what do I need to file? Do I need a site plan
Yeah.
review?
Mm.
You know, you're gonna have to,
Yeah.
and they'll let you know what you
Mhm.
need to do, and then you'll come before us with
Okay.
all the plans and the paperwork, and
Yeah.
we'll have all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fine details
Yeah.
to it.
That's okay. I think first is to figure out your floor plan so that that can then determine what the
Right.
parking requirements are.
It's based on square footage and seats,
Mhm,
depending on restaurant or retail.
mhm,
So for the retail portion, it'd be 1 per 200 square feet.
mhm.
And then for a restaurant, if it's a cafe portion, 1 space for every 2 employees and 1 space for every 3 seats.
One for every 3 spaces, one for every 3
Right.
seats,
And 1 for every 2 employees.
and one for every 2 employees.
And then for the retail area, 1 for every 200 square feet.
And that's, I just want, that's according to our table, as is, this is the village center. You also have alternative ways of calculating it. It references the ITE, the Institute of Traffic Engineers
Mhm.
may have some different numbers.
And it says by special permit, the planning board may authorize a smaller number of parking spaces because of staggered hours of use or other circumstances.
Mhm.
Okay.
So bottom line is there's some leeway, wiggle room in all of this.
Good.
Depends on what you're really gonna do.
Mhm.
And ultimately, you come up with what is actually required, that Sarah can say, if, for example, 15 spaces works, she can say 15 is what you need. You have a plan that solves that.
Or we'll do 13.
It's pretty
Or
easy
whatever
to
it
do
is,
it.
whatever
Or
they
you,
come up with.
or you do whatever they
The
come up
plan
with.
would be an engineer,
Yeah,
Or-
like this,
or-
this is what you're gonna
I
have
know,
to.
not a drawing.
Or if it
Believe
comes
me,
out,
sir, I understand
yeah,
that.
or if
This
you,
is just something maybe for you
No,
folks
that's-
to get a scope. I was
no.
kind of.
Well, that's starting with the sketch and talking to Sarah
Yeah.
is your first step.
I
Because
do know
Sarah
that
can
I've
then
done
say, okay, I know what you want to do.
Conservation committee meetings and
Yeah.
having a drawing for some people is very visual and easy for
Not
them
having
to
to go to the
understand.
DPA stops you like a 3-week period right there, so you can overlap that to come to us
So
and
then
ask us.
we're
if
just
we can
gonna
do it.
take note of that and make sure we go through the proper channels, right,
So
Gene?
what
That's right.
zoning district is this house in?
It's right across the street, Village
Village
Center.
center commercial or village center residential?
It's zone business as well.
Yeah, business, residential,
Village,
both.
village center commercial? though?
I would say so.
Straight across the
Are you
street.
on?
Yes.
I'm just trying to look at the
Right
map
across
behind
from the
it.
old Stevens Library.
So
That's
the
Maple
dark
Street?
purple or the red?
Right,
Yeah.
so you're in the dark purple.
It's on a diagonal from the.
Yeah, you're in the dark purple,
This is-
right?
Light purple.
This
Yeah.
is 32 Main and I am 31 Main.
So
you're in
that's
the
village
purple.
center commercial.
So, Sarah, you available tomorrow?
Yes, she's dark purple. He's dark purple. You're wearing dark purple, actually.
So,
I'm dark purple too.
what, could I stop by at a certain
Yeah, I'm
time?
in and out doing inspections, so it's always good to call first.
I'll call first.
But, yeah.
Great, thank you.
So, so that sets you.
Thank you very much,
And
sir.
if the numbers
Thank
are,
you very much.
if the numbers you need are not what you can provide, or, and it's not just what you can draw on the plan, it's what you can draw on the plan that she thinks
Mhm.
would work.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
so those might not be the same numbers. You might say you can draw 17, and she might say only 13 will work.
Without a doubt.
But
What were you saying
I
about
agree.
you needing to go to the zoning board?
well, I thought, and this is where my inexperience here, I thought that I didn't know we could waive the parking. I
Okay.
thought he had to get a variance for the parking. And we don't give variances, zoning board gives variances. But if
It's
we
a
don't,
special permit from you guys
If
if
it's-
if it's needed.
if it's a special permit from us, then you're in the right place.
And the use that both uses that I've heard are both allowed
Yeah.
in village center commercial.
So it's just a matter of finding out what's the real calculation of your
Totally.
parking.
Yep.
And then seeing if you can do it, if you can have a plan that meets that. And if you can't have a plan that meets that, then you have to ask for a special permit.
Or tape it down the spaces.
Or,
That you can't do.
or, I
Well,
mean,
that's
well,
up to us.
yeah, you know, or whatever's the best plan for the spaces.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It can't, but
How big is the square footage gonna be? anyway?
Of the downstairs?
the downstairs
Of
area,
what's
which is
open
your
to the
retail.
So it would be
Retail.
the downstairs and the
bookstore.
Yeah,
garage.
but of the part that's open to the public, if there's an upstairs that's not open to the public.
No, it's
Correct.
not.
No,
You
so
can't
it's,
be, other you have to put in an elevator.
So you'd probably be
Right,
looking
the upstairs
at,
is not.
you'd probably be looking at, I don't know, 15 to 1600.
Something like that, Yeah,
in the bottom, really, you have 1,500
Well,
square
with
feet
the-
in the bottom of that house?
with the barn.
Oh, with the barn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so the barn in the back,
So you're talking 8 parking spaces
Yeah.
at that point.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is one for
Store.
200
So and
square
he was
feet for
gonna,
retail.
you
that's
could
the
open
retail
up a
part.
little
And then
bit.
if you have, for your coffee shop, if you have like
If you have
one
like-
table, 2 tables, you know, how many
Yeah.
seats in your
Right.
coffee?
If
I
you have
mean,
10 seats, then you get another.
and you could decide
Right.
after you find out the
Spaces.
calculation,
How
well,
many-
I don't really need 10 spaces.
Right.
I only need
Mhm,
5 spaces or 6 spaces or whatever.
mhm.
Or if you decide, oh, I have room for 12, and so maybe I should only have enough seats in the cafe part to,
But there's no,
to add up to
honestly,
12.
that would be the smarter move though, is going with less because the SUV thing and all the other stuff, you know.
Plus your cafe takes away from your square footage
Yeah.
because you don't need to have parking for that. You gotta order parking for the cafe.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
So you're
You
double
don't
cafe.
400 square feet, you need 2 parking spots, but if you're using it for the cafe, 2 of those can go to that.
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah, so there's overlap there.
No, I know.
So that's why I'm saying, I think your number's gonna be less than 17.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think it's gonna be less than 17.
Good.
All right, Gene, let's get out
Thank
of
you.
these guys'
Yeah,
hair.
thank you
Let's-
very much, Sean. Again, I apologize too.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I just,
Gene, we really want this to work.
It would be
I
a
know.
cool
We
little
want this to
setup,
work.
so
Well, I-
honestly, well,
You just gotta figure out what's
It's
inside
not-
the building
it's
first,
not
then
your
that
fault,
dictates
but
what
when
happens
When
outside.
I quickly saw Roger last night, he said,
Yeah.
so is the agenda open? He said, yeah. So I thought, well,
Thank you, Sarah. This was a big, big help.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Good luck and keep in touch.
That was fortuitous, just sort of.
Well,
Get that figured out.
Underway,
I think-
yeah.
I think I mean, I love Gene, but you know, he's understanding the process has been a challenge since the beginning of this. And
Over a year or so, I mean, I tried to work with him
Yeah.
on parking, he never was even talking.
It's just not-
Let's close the meeting. You need a.
can we close the
I-
meeting?
I move to adjourn.
We're gonna move to adjourn. Thank you. Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you. Hey, we're closing the meeting. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. I forgot I was on.
That's-